Alright, welcome back to the channel. This is a little pre-video to the video that you're hopefully going to watch about my thoughts and review on the PCTS by Larry Meregillano. There's a lot of noise going on outside. I'm short on time today and I want to get this done so that I can finalise the video and then get it set up. It's the longest video I've done for quite a while. It's about 45 minutes long, including this part here, so by all means skip through it, etc. There's a little bit of chat the first half, and towards the second half we go into some playing and everything else. Not quite worked out how to like categorize it all through the YouTube video yet. We'll maybe try and get that done for this one. So PCTS, so I had a little YouTube search a while back and then I searched again to see how many reviews, actual in-depth reviews, there are about the PCTS system, and I suppose the CTS system for that from Larry, and there aren't many. If you type in PCTS, one of the things that comes up, I've got it up here, it's called post-cycle therapy, which is a testosterone replacement therapy or augmentation for bodybuilding. Not that. However, in terms of like musculature development, then well, maybe it is relevant, but yeah, don't be doing any TRT for your trumpet playing. I don't think it's entirely relevant. Different thing when you get into a certain stage of your age as a man, or as a male rather. Anyway, that's something for an entirely different channel that I'm not on. So this video is quite long. There is a lot of chat in it and my thoughts about how this PCTS system can help you and benefit you. Now, when we get into the playing part in this video as well, it's pretty raw. I'm aware of my tone and everything, but that was the point of this video, was to explore what ability I had to pick up the trumpet and pretty much go into a gig with not touching the trumpet for 9 days, which, other than my honeymoon, which is getting on for 15 years ago this year, the longest I had off, which was about 3 weeks, maybe about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. 9 days in this little holiday that was just on was the longest I've had since then. What else? Yeah, there is a little bit of an A and B towards the end of the video where on day one, which is the Monday of the gig that I do, there's my warm-up routine, etc., that you've all seen before, and then the AB with that is the day after the gig, etc. Okie dokie. So I hope you enjoy the video. Like I said, by all means, skip through some of the bits if you want to get to the action part that's around about, well, the playing's about 25 minutes in, 30 minutes in, and then the part at the end does the AB right after my final chat. Okay. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the video. Okay, night one, and I appear to have relatively decent lighting here in the Netherlands for this this little review. I'm not going to go into too much detail other than this is the PCTS from Larry Meregillano, and I actually have the original version as well, which has the mouthpiece plugged into a rubber tube. And I've got the other version of this, which has the mouthpiece adapter on as well. And I'm going to be flipping between the two. This is the first time in a long time I will probably be more than 2 or 3 days without a trumpet. Away for 9 days all in all, back on a Sunday, and then big bang gig on the Monday. Probably some lead duties expected of me, but we'll see how that goes. It's not a high pressure gig, and it will be more of a kind of split lead situation. So again, this is the PCTS. It feels quite different to the standard CTS. My max, according to Larry's Tor gauge, is a lot higher on the CTS. This feels like it's got like a higher spring or something in it. Let's try and see the... Yeah. Whereas the actual grading of the scale appears to be the same, the spring or the resistance in the actual gauge seems to be a lot higher. But it's slightly different because we're not engaging the rim of the mouthpiece. So there's all these factors that come into it. What's interesting as well is actually I've always thought this would be an interesting component of this part here, the actual throat of the PCTS probably quite healthily mimics the aperture airstream going into the mouthpiece. More thoughts on that later. Anyway, that's all for now. Alright, okay, so this is video 2. For long enough, many of us brass players have, well, not dreaded going away on holiday. Some people have really looked forward to it and not having to practice, but maybe dreading coming back and then getting into some practice and picking it all up. For some people it's quite straightforward, I suppose, and depending on what type of player you are, if you don't have a high pressure role like a lead or commercial player, then even if you are coming straight back into work, it's not that much of an issue. For those of us who are high pressure players, or maybe even not high pressure in terms of like commercial and lead work, maybe you just you get really anxious about not having practice. And what would it have been? Well, I mean, there's still some very good options out there. Those options are obviously mouthpiece work, which I'm sure is not that welcome either in a hotel or walking through the beautiful campsite of Bergen in Holland. Buzzing your mouthpiece. There's a pencil technique, absolutely fantastic, still a winner, still part of my game. And also practice muting your trumpet. It's not always ideal, that though, because that's another bit of kit that you've got to take with you on holiday. There are pocket trumpets as well. That's always an option. I saw a picture of, I'm pretty sure it was Johnny Thurkel in airplane toilet on the way to Canada or something, saying long flight, pocket trumpet out, practice muting and doing his thing. And you know what, when it comes down to it, it's like that's what you've got to do sometimes. So this is day 2 of work on the PCTS. I've not actually done any work on it yet. I have actually just buzzed on the mouthpiece while I was walking through the holiday park. And incidentally, this is my sturdy back 3D, which is quite a bit wider than my usual mouthpiece. But since this isn't about creating sound, this isn't about trying to have a perfect tone or a perfect buzz or anything like that. It's about exercising these muscles around here, etc. And to a degree, the connection we have with the compression on the instrument through the embouchure. So the first video that I used was the standard PCTS setup that fits between the teeth and the lips, and well, you saw that video there, and I'm sure you've done your own research on it as well. The other one, I paid for the extra kit because I actually really like the original CTS, which uses your main mouthpiece, a tube that connects to the larger, looser sprung valve. I've since worked out, after looking at the gauge, that I think I am blowing or compressing to the same strength. It's just that the way the gauge is up with the dial movement is a lot shorter. So instead of going like maybe round to here is like 80, round to here is like 80. So that's a big part of it. So this is the mouthpiece variant of the PCTS. There's the dial on there, and this is where you insert your mouthpiece. When I first got it, the actual bezel was loose, but as I'm quite into how things mechanical work, as you see, the bezel and the business end of the PCTS actually just screw together. So don't worry too much about that, but do make sure it's tightened back up correctly. And when you put your mouthpiece in, just give it a nice little twist so that it can't come out. Now that's a good point as well for your trumpet playing in general, because it just increases the connection, the mechanical metal connection of the mouthpiece against the receiver, etc., rather than having your mouthpiece loose. It doesn't really make any difference as to how much pressure you use. If you use too much pressure, then your mouthpiece is kind of rammed in there anyway. So if I also meant to say, if I have to start and stop, you can hear those kids in the background and stuff. It's an active holiday park. There might be like pigeons fly in and kids throw a frisbee or something over my way. Anyway, so when together, that's what this version of PCTS looks like. And if I just do, so on the CTS system that I use, I'm actually using this same or similar, this feels slightly more intense, this same or similar routines that I'm using on the CTS, as much as out of feeling of familiarity than anything else. It's pretty much the exact same process as was on the PCTS and the CTS, with having the mouthpiece in place. Same placement as always. And now, on all the CTS stuff, I generally take a nose breath. It just doesn't disturb the embouchure. And again, that compression that's coming there is probably up to around about 80 or 100. I'm not needing to work too hard on this. I don't have a gig tomorrow. Actually I have a gig a week tomorrow. I did that last night. And that's what we're doing. So on the set that I'm on just now, I've dropped down from 80% down to around about 70, 60%. 4 reps, and then I carry on with it unfurled. If you're familiar with the CTS protocols, then you understand where that is, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to flip between this version of the PCTS and the small disc version of it. And I know Larry's coming out with different ways to use and interact with the system all the time. One thing I will say that I've noticed about this, the PCTS and the CTS, if you follow my channel, you'll know that I've been through some, well, for trumpet players, pretty hefty dental reconstruction. I've got 2 titanium screws in my skull, and these guys are fake. What I have noticed with using the PCTS is, and this might be something that you will notice if you have lost a tooth and it's a fresh tooth, or you're going through any type of dental reconstruction. When they pulled my original teeth, which were going to fall out within a couple of few years from when it was diagnosed, the sockets were still relatively intact. There was no root there, but the actual sockets were intact. So that part here, where you can see the little double arch, that was still there. It was all uniform. The gum hadn't flattened out. I hadn't lost my teeth. I still had my teeth. So they preserved that. So what that meant is, when they put the titanium screws in, they put a bridge in, which also retained that shape of the socket. Came to my point. Now, what that also meant was that that socket was exposed to any environmental facts that were going on in my mouth. So when I actually started playing with my new embouchure, I was very, very, very non-committal on a lot of the work. I was trying to use minimal pressure. I was using a very, very tight set position. I was on tiny mouthpieces. As I've gradually got back into expanding mouthpieces and been able to play into the upper register and have a better upper register and a stronger upper register, due to having more confidence in my dental setup, I've been able to increase my compression, which is a big part of what this is. What it also means is that it actually highlights how the compression works inside our oral cavity. So this pressure goes everywhere, as it would. If you put a balloon inside a square hollow cube and you inflate that balloon, it will try and do its best to fill every one of those corners that are inside that square. What I've noticed is like, if I over compress the air, I can feel the air pushing against these sockets, which, even though I've got teeth in here, still actually feel a little bit tender and open to this compression, which you don't have with your regular teeth when you're using this type of system, purely because your teeth have grown in place and the gums have formed around them. Now, my implantologist did a great job in getting this all in there, but the gum is still just focusing down. Is that a negative for PCTS? No, it doesn't. It's not a negative for PCTS. What it is, though, is an important lesson in how we use our compression. And what's a really good thing about this is that when you even use this to the smaller levels of compression and the more finite protocols, so there's one where if you use a furled, unfurled position in the bottom lip, and you're really trying to get these muscles to work here, and you're using a low compression, so, and the dial dances about like, can't really see it that much because the dial's so small, but is dancing around between 0 and 40, then that is still hugely beneficial. And even if you can find let's say your maximum compression is at 140 on Larry's torque scale, but you operate on this or one of the other compression training devices around about 50%, then you're still going to get benefits from it. So what I'm doing for the rest of this time that I'm away for 9 days in total, is I'm going to run through my full sequence of CTS training, and then I'm going to do some extended high rep, low compression exercises. So there probably won't be many more videos after this, but the final findings video excuse me, is going to be either the Sunday night when I get back home, put the trumpet on my face in my studio to have a live warm-up with an instrument, or it's going to be the Monday morning of the day where I've got a gig on Monday night, which I believe is going to be a split lead trumpet gig. Hopefully not too many splits. Anyway, that's all. So PCTS, mouthpiece variation, it's good. It's really, really nice. It's simple, it's honest. One thing I will say, Larry, I'm going to contact you about this directly, is it's great that they give you a pouch for it. Well, when you buy this one, actually you only get one pouch. I suggest that you provide a second pouch, Larry, because when you put the mouthpiece and the pouch, sorry, the mouthpiece and the PCTS into the pouch, it doesn't close over, and that's not an inconvenience. It's just something I think it's like that's just one extra thing you could think of. Would it nudge the sale point up by $5, $10? Maybe it would. I don't know, but certainly in terms of having that device there and that ready to go, and I've taken this away with me on holiday, then to have a pouch that's maybe what, 3 centimeters, maybe just over an inch longer, then it's just convenience. That's all. Anyway, that's all for now. See you next time. Okay, I'm probably a bit of a noisy video. Might have to subtitle this heading off the studio. I don't have a proper phone mount for recording in the car, so I'll just make this brief. So back in East Lothian, beautiful day, top down in Zedna, the old Z4, and yeah, a bit of a long travel day yesterday. I hoped to get back a little bit earlier last night and get the trumpet on the face. So as to date, I have not played the trumpet since Thursday, was it the 27th of June? Can't remember. And today is now the 7th of July. Now I've never really gone that long for quite a while without playing trumpet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after using PCTS system. I'd also intended last night on you go back and using the CTS system, which is I've been using that for quite a while now, but we ended up having cancelled train in the morning, a late running train in the afternoon, and then at the end of the afternoon, almost evening, our home train got cancelled and we had to get one an hour later. So you can imagine travelling with a small family, everyone's knackered. We pretty much got in, had food and fell asleep. So yeah, but I did actually manage to get some CTS training in yesterday in the morning. We left Stansted Airport a little bit earlier than normal due to cancelled train. We had to get an earlier train, so I got some CTS training in, or PCTS training on the way up on the Peterborough to Edinburgh train. Cue photo for that. And then in the evening, when we were just chilling out on the couch, I got some more PCTS going. But what I am noticing is that loads of traffic on here, big moving truck. Is that I do feel a little bit of a difference in terms of functionality between the PCTS and the PCTS with the mouthpiece attachment. I actually think I almost prefer the mouthpiece attachment attachment, albeit a little bit bulkier, like I mentioned earlier on. So yeah, so I finished off with the PCTS and the mouthpiece, my big old Bach 3D. So we're heading up the studio lane now. I'm going to park up. We'll walk into the studio. A couple more thoughts on there, and then yeah, we'll get down to it. I haven't played, like I said, my trumpet now and getting on for, I'm trying to think, so Thursday would be 7 days, no, Friday would be 7 days, so that's 7, Saturday, Sunday, today's Monday, so 9 days off the old trumpet. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So the gig tonight, I'm at the Jazz Bar Big Band. It is kind of a rehearsal for the Jazz Bar Big Band's annual Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival in the Jazz Bar at the Jazz Festival next week. But it's a little gig within its own right. We run that as a rehearsal session for the punters, and then we also run those charts that we played through in the rehearsal as a little gig. Okay, here we are. Okay, again, sorry about the wind. Right, so getting ready to play trumpet. What do we do? I have got another second most important thing to do when playing a brass instrument, or actually probably a lot of things. This is a really good thing to do, but you know what, we'll address that in a separate video. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause, do myself a little edit, seamless transition to the main gear. Alright, incidentally, putting together some input in this thing. It lives in the stand, it's absolutely fantastic. Right, see you in a wee second. Okay. This will be interesting. I'm just going to do the first part of the routine that I've been doing for familiarity's sake, starting off with lead pipe buzz. Just going to switch over and make sure that the mics are correct. Sorry, rubbish end editing. Right then, so that's interesting. It actually feels quite normal. So what I'm going to do is, I'm very well aware that I feel as though I've lost some of the, I don't want to use the word grip, because that kind of gives it the impression that we force our lips around the embouchure. But I think maybe more just, we've been playing a lot, you know, you kind of get that, it's almost like a callus inside your lip where the mouthpiece kind of resides. I reckon everyone, even if you have the lightest pressure on your face, you still have a setting point where the mouthpiece feels at home. I'm going to record this long form, and I might just do a long form of the full warm-up and set that out by itself. But what I'm going to do for the main body of this video is chop this down, and you just see snippets of this little kind of warm-up maintenance thing that I got to do. Now, I'm not playing tonight for another 3.5 hours, so this is something that I would normally do at the beginning of the day, but you know what, I feel that it's absolutely going to be fine where I am just now, and we'll get some shots as well from the session tonight. So back to the little routine. Incidentally, how do you do compound tonguing in the upper register? That's just, still working on that. Alright, okay, interesting. So on those last sets of the chromatics, the kind of a Frank Clark variation, and I double time it and I do it as part of this routine. That's right in front of my face. Just where it feels like the tongue in the airstream and the corners would naturally just steer up through that A, B flat, B, C. That kind of like familiarity there, it just doesn't appear to be in place. So again, when I played the F sharp after the F, it was absolutely fine, or it was better. But again, you know, 9 days off playing, I'm not really expecting everything to be amazing. I've read some people saying that if it's actually felt better when they've come back. So tonight will be the test on this, when we get some playing at the jazz bar. And even after 1 day or 2 days off without doing anything, no PCTS, no pencil work, nothing like that whatsoever, you kind of get that feeling of things just being a little bit soft. It's that old adage of 1 day off, you notice it, 2 days off, your colleagues notice it, and 3 days off, the audience notice it. So we'll see how that develops. So I'm going to carry on with the next little step in my routine. Okay, so some higher lip flexibilities. Okay, well that's interesting. I mean, I think we all know that, along with the old 1, 2, 3 days adage, that range, if learned correctly, will always, pretty much always be there, because we learn the mouth shapes, we learn the oral shapes, we learn what to do with our air and our setup in relation to our gear, etc. So the range shouldn't really go. It's the stamina side. It's how long those muscles can maintain that shape with the compression that's pushed against them, etc. So again, that's us for today, or that's us for this part of the video. I'm going to take some phone footage from the gig tonight, and I think it'll be all right. Like I said, I'm doing split lead. There's some tasty charts in there usually, so we'll see how it all goes. I'm definitely feeling that. But yeah, all right, okay, see you soon. Okay, well that was interesting. Yeah, some evidence to follow, as you'll see. Soon never would have thought that actually having 9 days off the trumpet would have been able to do much of that. Now don't get me wrong, it's like there was, I wouldn't say quite a few stamina issues, but I can see how it'd be very careful to get it wrong really quite quickly and just put all your faith in something like the PCTS, but I think as a practice aid tool, and certainly like myself, just being away for so long, yeah, I couldn't have done that without the PCTS. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. The audio's there and not perfect, but you know, it's like, yeah, it's definitely something to look into. Interested in seeing how my chops are tomorrow. Everything feels fine, certainly feels a bit tired. Usable range remained there up towards the end, although those long extended passages, that's something I'll have to look into. Maybe a little bit more of an in-depth look into PCTS and CTS routines. Anyway, I'll finish this video off later on tomorrow at some point during the day from the studio. Okay, here we are, day after the jazz bar big bang gig. So you've just heard the comments there about the gig. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get straight into my routine. I forgot to add in this yesterday, actually. Got that in this one yesterday, so I'm not going to do as much of the routine, or you won't see as much of it. I'm going to go through the full routine and I'll just dip in and out of it, etc. And then we'll get to the end. Might even just show you the end part. So, just coming through this pencil exercise. And what I'm noticing is actually, even with engaging a little bit of air compression against the pencil, which should always be loose and freely floating, so you can basically see this when I increase the compression and let it go. Now I'm not lifting the pencil there with my embouchure or jaw or anything. I'm actually just blowing air into my mouth with the closed aperture because the pencil in the place and the pencil's lifting. I actually feel quite tired here, which is to be expected. Anyway, back on to the rest of my routine and I'll see you at the end. Alright, so what's interesting is that already I am noticing that there's more core to the sound. I'd be interested to do a wee A-B, and if I have the time and remember when I'm doing the edit for this, I'll maybe just like A-B that part of the routine with the part that I did yesterday. Yeah, still feel a little bit tired here and everything, but there's definitely a lot more core in the sound today. And again, I was actually playing trumpet last night, which does make a big difference in what it's all about. Okay, so see you in a bit. Okay, remember to turn the mic on. So, what I was noticing, trying to remember what I was saying, what I was noticing in that last section there was going down to the bottom F sharp, all three. The ability for us as trumpet players, regardless of whether you're a classical musician, commercial musician, jazzer, lead trumpet, whatever it is, like hobbyist, your connection of sound, be it over an octave, 3 octaves, 5 octaves, it doesn't matter, it should be there. If at any point within your range you've got a diffusion or a lack of connection and either your scale or the sound becomes compromised, then that's something you need to address. I'm noticing that in the core of my sound, so in the very, very middle part of the sound, it feels like there's just an inconsistency or a little bit of fuzz or something. I'm not sure how much will come across in the microphone, but that to me says a couple of things. One, my embouchure does feel tired. I can feel it here. I'm trying to use as little pressure as possible, and you can hear that in the flexibilities. I'm trying to let my embouchure find the way through these the small flexibilities exercise, and not everything is coming out as rhythmically as possible or as it should do. Whereas in most occasions it would be on tap there because I know where to go to. My embouchure knows where to go to with my ear and everything that's in there. Anyway, we're going to dive on to the last part of the exercise, which goes up to the double G. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to try and get it to come out. I'm just going to try and use basically the tongue level control, corners, and the correct support down here. All right. That was second time lucky. Okay, so there you go. Top G didn't come out. And what I'm hearing in the middle of the sound is like, I'll maybe try and over compress or boost the audio on that recording. In the center of the sound, I'm hearing kind of like a, and that means this just is not responding fully. I notice that sometimes I've got like a harmony mute and I'm blowing harder than a harmony mute, etc. And I'm basically overblowing the embouchure and the setup that's on the equipment. Right, so that's all for now. I'm pretty much done with this PCTS video. I'll make some comments now. If you see me change the top, I'm just about to go off the gym, then I'll have revised those comments while I'm doing my chores this morning, etc. But PCTS or the CTS system, should you buy it? Yes, you should. I would not have been able to do a quarter as much as I did last night in the gig and yeah, there were some times where it's just like, oh, I should have done more playing. Thankfully, it wasn't my lead gig. I did a little bit. And mentally up here as well on the gig, I was getting a little bit out of focus towards the end of it. That was only 9 days off playing, and I didn't have a lot of jet lag or anything. So there are other factors to consider into our playing, but that's something for a whole other video. Now then, which compression training system should you buy? I think the original one's still the best. The big one that has the tube coming off, the dial, and your usual mouthpiece, etc. To me, that feels a much more natural representation of what we're trying to do with their embouchure. In second place, I would use the PCTS with the mouthpiece adapter on there, because it feels just more correct, more right, more at home, more familiar than what I'm calling the Pete. And I know it's not based on the Pete system, but it's just the way it fits in the mouth. So the third place one is the smaller CTS with the disc that fits inside the mouth. Now Larry's always coming out with different ways and videos to use these, so check them out. Don't just go with my chat on it, of course. Go to the source. Larry's great at reaching out as well and talking to you. I'm going to be sending a copy of this video before it gets published, and yeah, it really does make a difference as an accessory and as an assistant to your playing. I've occasionally used the PCTS after gigs, etc. if I felt I've been overblown, just to gently reset the embouchure, and that's helped. But when it comes down to it, folks, there is nothing better that you can do other than actually just go through your routine and practicing and playing trumpet with as nice a sound as possible. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and the like button. Go back and check out all the other videos. There'll be another couple popping up around this end screen. And as always, don't forget to practice, stay safe and stay smart. We'll see you later. Bye. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I know I've already stated my preference for the PCTS, or rather the CTS system as well, the full compression training system. But I just want to underline as well that I got that utmost respect for Larry and his playing and what he's done for the trumpet and brass community, because this is now available, I believe, for many brass instruments, not just the trumpet. Oh, it's quite a lot of noise out there, I do apologise. And I think that in hindsight, thinking about where I have been since coming back, doing that gig, doing more playing and building my embouchure, I think I could have done more on the PCTS system. I was on holiday and time constraints were there, and you know, it's like you do kind of want to switch off your brain a little bit. So we'll maybe kind of revisit that. We'll maybe revisit and do like a much shorter PCTS CTS video where I look at maybe a more expansive training profile. I've not reached out to Larry yet about this yet, to really think about how the PCTS can be used if you're not playing trumpet and you're really trying to maintain, because I felt, and again in hindsight, I felt that there's more that can be, there's more that I could have benefited from using the PCTS and the CTS away from the Trumpet to have a much more ready to go embouchure. The one thing that I will stand by though is, and this comes down to the comment that I made about this centre part here, the actual contact part or the aperture area that's actually dealing with the air, I still feel as though that still needs that engagement with the instrument. It still needs that exposure to the airstream and the air moving through it. But that's going to respond a hell of a lot quicker if this part around here is ready to go and grab that airstream. And that's got a lot to do with being relaxed and being ready and being prepared and being in control with your embouchure. Okay, right, so that is the final words on this PCTS system by Larry Meregillano. Thank you so much again for watching. I know this is a long video. I'm not going to chop this one up anymore, but like I said, I will do, probably will do, a shorter, deeper dive onto the CTS and the PCTS, maybe over a couple of days of not playing, and see how the chops come back. As always, stay safe, stay smart, and don't forget to practice. Thanks. Bye-bye.